You're all set.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting of the Gloucester, East Gloucester Veterans Memorial School Building Committee to order. And I'm just looking for the thing I'm supposed to read about. Yeah, it's not there. That's the agenda. I need the, this meeting is conducted by remote as per order of the governor, and every effort will be made for the public to view and participate when necessary. That being said, we need a roll call vote for attendance.
Hello, everyone.
Aye.
Jonathan Pope.
Here.
Thank you. Ben Lemus.
Present.
Thank you. Richard Safar.
Here.
Thank you. Greg Kadarmatori. Greg. Kathy Clancy.
Present.
Thank you. Donna Compton.
Here.
Thank you. John Dunn.
Here.
Thank you. Gary Fish.
Present.
Thank you. Matthew Fusco.
Here.
Thank you. Grant Harris.
Here.
Thank you. Joey Lucido. No. Jamison Manning. No. Amy Pascarello. No. Adam Rosell. No.
No, Adam's here. Adam Roselle.
Yeah, Adam, you're muted.
You're muted, yeah.
Yeah, perhaps
Adam-
he just stepped away for a moment.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam. Caitlin O'Neis.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, that being said, the first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the meeting of January 13th, 2022. Are there any corrections or omissions? Kathy?
I just would want where it says that, right where you are, other discussions, JR briefly explained the draft GMP to spell out the acronym. Okay.
So to list it as guaranteed maximum price.
Correct. Yes.
No.
Okay, anything else? I can't see everybody, so just speak up. Seeing none,
Video, what happened?
do we have a motion to accept the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Yes, can we have a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Jonathan Pope.
Yes.
Thank you. Ben Lemus.
Yes.
Thank you. Richard Safar.
Yes.
Thank you. Kathy Clancy.
Yes.
Thank you. Donna Compton.
Here.
Thank you. John Dunn.
Yes.
Thank you. Gary Fish.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Matthew Fusco.
Yes.
Thank you. Grant Harris.
Yes.
Thank you. Adam Rosell. Adam, you there?
We've lost Adam again, apparently.
Caitlin O'Neis.
Abstain.
Okay. We have 8 votes.
Okay, that's that passes 7 in favor and 2 abstentions and 1 in and out of the Ethernet, apparently. Moving on, we have our next order of business is the approval of invoices. We have 5 invoices. Brian, you going to present these or would you like to?
Yeah, I can present them. The first invoice we have is for Doran Whittier. Invoice is $141,960.96. Includes construction administration activities, which include site visits, reviewing of submittals, shop drawings and the like, as well as participating in the procurement activities that we're doing along with WT Rich. And there's also some additional allowances that were used for geotechnical, for some of the site visits, some printing, and for the permitting with niche engineering. So should we just go through all of these first and then do a vote on all of them? Or do we need to vote for each one individually?
We can do each one individually. So I'll make a motion. Are there any questions on the Doran Whittier invoice? Seeing none, I'll make a motion that we approve Doran Whittier invoice number 33 for the amount of $141,960.96, and I so move.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Yes, can we have a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
thank you. Ben Lemes,
Yes.
thank you. Richard Safar,
Yes.
thank you. Katie Clancy,
Yes.
thank you. Donna Compton,
Yes.
thank you. John Dunn,
Yes.
thank you. Gary Fresh,
Yes.
thank you. Matthew Fusco,
Yes.
thank you. Grant Harris,
Yes.
thank you. Adam Russell, Adam Russell,
Yeah.
Okay. Caitlin O'Neill,
Yes.
thank you.
Alrighty.
It passes unanimously. I might have spoken too quickly. Would the committee like to take these all as one in one vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I take that as a indication. So, Brian, you want to just go through the rest of them and just let people ask questions at the end of each presentation?
Sure.
Sure.
The next invoice we have is for WT Rich. This is their monthly requisition. Just as a reminder, these requisitions are reviewed by the OPM and the architect, and adjustments are made where needed, and then they're finalized for presentation. So this invoice here is in the amount of $814,321. It's for the work that's been going on site, and also the support work, administrative work on the job. And there continues to be a 5% retainage that's withheld as a standard practice on these invoices. Does anyone have any questions about this invoice for WT Rich? Okay, don't see any. So I will move on. The next invoice we have a couple of these for UTS. One of them just came in today, so we were able to get that included as well. So this is for the owner-directed testing. So for various testing that goes on the site. I think this one here we're looking at right now is for concrete. So to make sure that the concrete is mixed right and has the right strength and so forth. And all of these invoices are reviewed by the OPM to make sure that it matches to the work that's being performed on the site. This particular invoice is in the amount of $7,970. Does anyone have any questions about this UTS invoice? No? Okay, I'll move on to the next one. I guess we have this CBRE invoice because the other UTS invoice just came in. So this is our standard monthly invoice for $60,000 for owner's project management services. As you recall, we have a fixed fee billing each month. So that's the same month to month. Are there any questions about the OPM invoice? No? Okay. And then I think this one is our final one. So this is another invoice for UTS. This one is an amount of $5,585. Again, you'll see some of the same types of testing that's here. So this one also has some for soils. And I think that's the last one. Any questions on that one?
Okay, so with no questions, I'll make a motion that we approve the invoices as presented for WT Rich and the 2 for UTS testing and the 1 for CBRE Harry, and I so move.
Second.
There we go. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, can we have a roll call vote? Yes.
So Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
thank you. Ben Lemis,
But this is for all of the remaining ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, yes.
thank you. Richard Safar,
Yes.
thank you. Katie Clancy,
Yes.
thank you. Donna Compton,
Yes.
thank you. John Dunn,
Yes.
thank you. Gary Frisch,
Yes.
thank you. Matthew Fusco,
Yes.
thank you. Grant Harris,
Yes.
thank you. Caitlin Nunes,
Yes.
thank you. Did anybody else join?
If you can hear me, this is Adam Roselle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, thank goodness. I got my sound back and I can hear you guys finally. So it's a yes for me.
thank you.
Okay. All right, it passes unanimously, and welcome back, Adam. We missed you.
Thank you very much.
It passes unanimously, and we'll move on to our next item is.
Yep, That'll be our monthly update.
It's- Okay,
So I included this monthly schedule update in your package. So the past month, we've continued to work on procuring subcontractors for the job, as well as developing the GMP for the project. This is a rigorous process that includes members from each part of the team. And our goal is to negotiate fair and comprehensive contracts that ensure we can get the project done on time and without any pitfalls along the way. We've also been going over some of the administrative checks that are typical of this stage of the job to make sure that we have a proper documentation in place. That includes things like bonds and insurance, certified payroll, MBE, WB certificates, as well as other things. The work continues to move forward on the site, and we have had the building department finish their review of all the drawings for the building permit. So that's just being finalized now. I think the review finished up yesterday or today. So we should be getting that building permit soon. We haven't really had any issues within the community. Things continue to be smooth. Recently, we sent out a notice to those people that had signed up for the notifications to let them know about the steel delivery that will be taking place over the next month. We have some large semis bringing in that material on a regular basis, but it's not really interfering with any of the traffic there in the neighborhood. So that's pretty much, a lot of the activities. The project continues to track on budget, and we believe we'll be finishing on time. We have had a little bit of a setback with some of the reviews on some of the structural submittals, but we're working together as a team to address those issues and put together a recovery schedule that will put us back on track. As mentioned, the architect is working on reviewing shop drawings and submittals, as well as handling some final design items like configuring room numbers. There's some playground issues that are playground and storage of equipment that's being tackled. On the site, we have W2 Rich moving forward with finishing the foundations and beginning the steel erection. But I'll turn it over to W2 Rich to talk a little bit more about their work on site. Let me pull up their slides here. So are you going to talk about this, Tom? Or
I was going to handle it, Brian.
oh, Alex. Okay, awesome. So here's your slide. Okay, is that, you can see it?
It's probably pretty tough to see.
Yeah, but you got the right slide. I'll zoom in here.
Yep. So this is our typical 4-week look ahead, just so you guys can kind of see what we share as a project team from week to week. So essentially, I won't get too much into the detail here, but you can see a lot of the concrete work is wrapping up, should be done, either this week or towards the end of next week. We're pretty much wrapped up with all of B building at this point, pending a few final pours, which are scheduled for tomorrow and then sometime next week. So like I mentioned, we're in really good shape on foundations. We've, as far as site work goes, it's mostly backfill at this point. Excavations are complete, backfill sort of within the building and around the building to make sure we're as kind of cleaned up as possible. And then obviously that building kind of gets turned over to steel, which means site kind of flips over to the parking lot area to the east, and we'll get started on the retaining wall and some of the underground work over in that area. And then obviously, as you guys have probably seen, structural steel showed up on Monday. We got 3 or 5 deliveries, I believe. 5 trucks showed up on Monday. So they've gotten the first few sequences started, and that's a good segue, Brian. Thanks for scrolling down. So we tried to put together a little graphic here that kind of shows you how this building is going to be built, at least from the A building perspective. So you can see the 1, 2, 5. That's kind of the first area that we're starting at. So the numbers that you'll see are the sequences. So they basically start, all the way to the west at 1, 2, then they'll flip over to 3, 4, and then build the roof all the way to the west at 5, and then start building up the east side of the A building, 6, 7, and then wrapping up 8, 9. So as things progress on site, you guys will start to see, the A building start to take shape. We've got a pretty good delivery schedule started, pending obviously weather, but that's kind of A building in a nutshell, moving to B, next month. So we're well underway in steel, as you guys can probably imagine at this point. I did want to share some photos, some before photos of the storm. I did want to give kudos to the guys on site, showing you guys how clean and tidy it was, obviously before Snowmageddon. But we were in really good shape before the snowstorm. We still are in good shape, but obviously it's turned into a little bit of a soup bowl over there, as you can imagine. Some more progress photos here of foundations, formwork around the piers. The right photograph is actually the elevator pit getting formed up and placed. So that work's actually almost complete at this point. The elevator pit fully installed. Left side, you can see the footing's been poured for the elevator pit, and then we're building up the shaft walls, formwork on the shaft walls. And then you can see the right side, the progress of backfilling the elevator pit and the footing around it with insulation to help protect any frost issues. And then we got the snow. Luckily, it was a week before steel was supposed to arrive, so we were able to clean up the site pretty nicely. But like I said, that first batch of sequences 1, 2, 3, 4 have showed up and will show up with 2 more trucks tomorrow. So we're in really good shape steel wise. They're flying. It's like a giant erector set.
Great. Yeah, they are moving very quickly out there. So thanks for sharing that.
Sure. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, Alex, could you just obviously always concerned about making sure we're working in the neighborhood in a way that's as least disruptive as possible. Could you just explain how you guys are staging the steel deliveries? I think you have a sort of setting up out of Beverly Rest Stop. Can you just explain how you're sort of minimizing the disruption on Webster Street?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, Ben, we do utilize that Beverly Rest Stop as kind of a laydown area for the trucks. We've made it abundantly clear to them that they're not allowed on site before 7. I think that's city ordinance. So they're basically waiting in Beverly until 7 o'clock, and then they'll start showing up. The way we have our delivery scheduled now, there's no more than 3 trucks. I know I said we had 5 trucks on Monday, but that's going to be the max we ever have on site. And the way that we have it set up with the access road around the building, they actually can all fit on site. So there's never any, truck stocking on Webster Street, anything of that nature. We're able to bring them all on site to minimize any disruption on Webster Street. So we've got a pretty good game plan down. I think the staggered trucks certainly help, keeping it to probably a maximum of 3 moving forward. So we feel like we've got to manage pretty well. And then that notification that went out from Brian and his team, I think just kind of hopefully put a lot of the abutters and neighbors at ease, in terms of not surprising them, hopefully, with steel trucks and steel erection showing up, or starting, I should say.
Great. Appreciate that. That sounds like a good plan, and one that, like you said, keeps those trucks, off or from stacking up. And that's a big help, I think, to the project and to the community. So I appreciate that.
Sure.
And those are coming all the way from Canada, right, Alex? Those trucks.
Yep. I mean, I think I mentioned to you guys on our Friday call, it couldn't be really a more ideal situation for us coming run up right off of 128, taking basically 2 rights and being on site. It just works out perfectly. And then we can send the trucks right back down 128. So it's really a pretty ideal situation as long as we can manage any stacking on Webster Street, which we don't really expect moving forward. So
Great. All right, thank you very much.
Those are great photos, by the way, really helpful. Maybe if Kathy could work with Laura Weeson, or maybe if KT wants to help out some too, if she's available, to get some of those on the website with a little caption or something like that. Great.
Yeah, I can send whoever the JPEGs, Ben. I don't know if you want to go to you or
If you send it to
Kathy
me
or
and
whoever.
Kathy Clancy, I think we can go from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will do.
And I will say I did drive by yesterday out of pure anticipation and was delighted to see all the steel up already. That is up.
Yeah, it happens pretty quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it does. And it might be interesting if you're going to put something on the website to actually take a picture tomorrow, because there was quite a bit of steel up this afternoon when I drove by.
We also, our 2 indefatigable leaders, Principal Fusco and Principal Pasquarello, have posted a new video on the building website, which addresses the arrival of the steel, and it's quite a good one, and it has some humorous points in it too. But it's
Check that
easily
one out.
accessible on the project website.
Okay.
Great.
Great.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to move on to the GMP.
Yep. So as mentioned earlier, we've been working hard to get all the construction contracts in place. And the most important one, obviously, for this project is the GMP with W.T. Rich. So as we said earlier, just so that everyone's clear, GMP stands for Guaranteed Maximum Price. And that means that this contract has been negotiated with W.T. Rich, and it includes all the work identified in the drawings, and that work will be completed for a stipulated maximum sum. Now, it's important to note that anything that is not in the contract would be in addition to this amount. So that could be items such as unforeseen site conditions or weather impacts, items the owner decides to add to the projects, or maybe some items that were required but were not identified in the construction documents. So those items can still come up, and typically on a project there are, you know, some of those items that need to be handled. But for the bulk of the work, for all the work that's been designed and included in the contract documents, we now have a guaranteed maximum price. So all of you have received this GMP already. We sent it out a week earlier. It's pretty lengthy, but it includes, you know, all the necessary information that goes into this contract. So I think this, you know, we're now at 51 pages. And also you saw the draft of this at our last school building committee meeting. So I'm going to turn this over to John Rich to kind of talk about the highlights, you know, the most important points of this document, and answer any questions, I guess, that anyone might have about it.
Thanks, Brian.
So John, do you want to bring up your own slides, or do you want me to pull them up?
Yeah. Could you or Maria let me share my screen?
Sure, hold on one second. All set.
Okay. So first off, a little bonus sharing here is this is from 5 o'clock today out at the site. This is the steel that some people were referring to. I just thought I would share that before we jump into the GMP. So really, I'm just going to kind of present this at a high level overview. And the amendment that is presented to you, it's really to amend our entire WT Rich contract, and you know, it's called the GMP amendment because the GMP is the sort of the bulk of that. But from a total contract perspective, we have this amount in pre-construction, 189,000, and then we had an amendment that was dedicated to St. Anne's. We did two other amendments, 1 and 2, that was for EP1 and EP2. They told the amount there 19 million and 604,000. And then this amount, the amount of this amendment is the 32 million. So that brings the total contract amount up to $52,270,320. But like I mentioned before, the number that we key in on is the GMP amount. That's the construction. That's the amount for the construction. So that excludes the pre-construction and the St. Anne's amendment. Both of those are funded from separate budgets. With the MSBA, you have an agreement and there's a structure for that budget. Pre-construction is separate from that. And then there's a separate swing space budget that John Dunn knows a lot more about than I do, but I know the $155,789 came from that. So for the actual GMP amount, that left us at this 51,925,531. That's exactly the amount we submitted last June, I believe, June of 2020 to the MSBA. I think it was late June or early July. We submitted that to the MSBA for the construction budget. So it's pretty good. I think everyone should be pretty proud. The entire team that, you know, the industry has been through a lot of turmoil and market volatility and escalation, and that we're able to deliver the project with that budget from, you know, 18 plus months ago. So I think that's really good news there. Just to give you a couple of highlights on the GMP itself, we were able to include this alternate 1A, which is the athletic safety surfacing. So that's the play striping and coloring for everything that goes on the asphalt. There's quite a bit of it there. So we're able to include that in the GMP. We did have a number of cost of work allowances for the various items that are either not covered by some of the subs we talked about, but we know they're part of the work. They're hard to quantify now, so we set up allowances for those. That's it. That's a decent, healthy allowance. The GMP expenditures, these are, I think there was, I forget the exact count, maybe 18 or so, which were really pending change orders that were identified, either in the early packages. And so we were able, or, maybe even in the full construction, but we've been able to absorb, I think, all but 2 of those, and still stay on within the budget. We obviously didn't want to take on every single one and then end up going over budget. So that was pretty good that we were able to absorb that amount. You may recall you voted on a number of value engineering savings. They totaled 717,000. The GMP assumptions and qualifications, very, very similar to the draft that was sent to you. And I think there was one added really about the GMP expenditures. And you guys have already approved early package 1, early package 2, all the file sub bidders to be awarded, the priority 1 non-trade and the priority 2 non-trade. So really, we're pretty far along, even though this GMP is pulling it all together. There's only just under $3.5 million worth of work yet to be awarded to the contractors. So that's kind of the big picture. I did put the language for the motion on this one, but certainly open to any discussion, any questions about the GMP. I have that same document, the actual full document. If there was anything there that you wanted to go over, I can bring that up if it's deemed valuable. So just open it up to you guys and see where everyone's at.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions of Jonathan Rich or anybody else before we make the motion and move forward with awarding the GMP?
John, I just wanted to point out, when you said that there's roughly 3 million that still needs to be awarded, that's already included in the GMP. That's not an additional cost that's going to be incurred. That's included, but these are contracts for the various subcontractors that haven't been signed yet.
Yep. I don't know if that made people feel better or worse, but you're in this total 52 million, you're already very deep in terms of commitments and contracts we've authorized to award. So we're kind of at the final tail end, but it's also taken us a while to get the full volume of the full GMP organized. But yes, that remaining piece is part of the GMP.
Okay, I can't see everybody for some reason. I've lost my video.
Do you want me to stop sharing, Jonathan, or you want me to leave this verbiage?
No,
up
it's
here?
not that. It's my computer or something. I can hear everybody, but I can't see anybody for some reason. So are there any other questions before we make the motion? Okay, hearing none. I'll make a motion to approve the GMP amendment to the amount of $32,320,831 to bring W.T. Rich's total contract amount to $52,270,320 and to authorize the city to execute the GMP amendment on behalf of the school building committee. And I so move.
Seconded.
Okay. Is there any
John,
discussion?
maybe you could stop sharing. I'm sorry, John, maybe you could stop sharing the screen so we can see who's voting. Yeah.
Good idea. Thank you.
Okay. Once again, I still can't see anybody, and that's not the fault of somebody sharing. It's the fault of something that's happening on my computer. So we have a motion and a second, and there's no discussion. So yes, can we have a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
thank you. Ben Nemes,
Yes.
thank you. Richard Safar,
Yes.
thank you. Katie Clancy,
Yes,
thank you. Donna Compton,
Yes.
Thank you. John Dunn.
Yes.
Thank you. Gary Fish.
Yes.
Thank you. Matthew Fusco.
Yes.
Thank you. Grant Harris.
Yes.
Thank you. Adam Russell.
Yes.
Thank you. Caitlin Unis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, it passes unanimously. And thank you very much.
So now we can start working.
Yeah.
Get on that, would you please?
Yeah, get going.
So we don't have to take that steel down that's going up.
Mhm.
You guys anticipate any issues with the Canadian blockage? Is everything in country that you expected? And, I don't know.
We have some more, we don't expect any issues, but we have more steel deliveries coming up. But
You're not going over a bridge in Detroit, right?
no,
Excellent.
I think that's the important thing.
Great.
All
Yeah,
right.
so
Go ahead. Right.
yeah, so now that we have that main construction contract in place, as we just spoke about a minute ago, there are still some contracts with the subcontractors that'll need to be executed by W.T. Rich. So that's a process that we've been going through ready for the past few school building committee meetings. When we reviewed the LORs. So just as a reminder, the LOR, that stands for Letter of Recommendation. And this is a letter that is prepared by W.T. Rich that documents the recommended subcontractor selection and the main details of their contract. And before these letters are issued by W.T. Rich, the team, meaning the OPM, the architect, the general contractor, all work together to vet each of these potential subcontractors and then make sure that all the work is adequately covered in the list of qualifications that are included in that letter of recommendation. Then W.T. Rich assembles the documents and goes through negotiations with the various the subcontractors, to make a determination as to which subcontractor is best suited for the work. And at that point, usually it's, whoever is offering the best price to complete the work. So that is then compiled into this letter of recommendation, which is sent to the OPM for approval. So I'll share a recent example of this just to familiarize yourself again with it, what I'm talking about. So let me pull that up here. So this is one, you can see here, this says January 31st date. So this one here is for signage. So you can see that there are 4 contractors listed, each of their prices. This particular one had a budget overrun. And it goes through the exclusions and qualifications of the contract. And then this is where it's signed off. So we're going to have to still execute a number of these, even though we have the GMP now finalized. And that's something that we want to get the approval for the OPM to be able to move forward with that and execute these without holding another school building committee meeting. We started to talk about that at the last school building committee meeting, but then we kind of ran out of time and we didn't get a chance to vote on that. So we'd like to get a vote on that tonight, if that's all right, to go ahead and finish the execution of these so we don't have to schedule additional meetings. But I guess first, are there any questions about that process or what's included or anything like that? Kathy?
So what if there's a scenario where the ones you have remaining come in over what you expected for those particular pieces of the project? I know you're looking at them all in a total basis.
Yeah.
In a site for WT Rich.
Yep, that's a good question. So as we stated before, all the items that are included in the drawings, so that would be these items that we're talking about, they're going to be included in the guaranteed maximum price. So within that award that we gave to WT Rich just a few minutes ago, there's something called the GMP contingency. And there's a certain amount of funds that are reserved to help balance those things because, you know, WT Rich is not able to know exactly where the negotiations are going to end with each of these. They have a general idea of what the price will be, but there's always a little bit of plus and minus. So that's how any overage on these would be handled. They would come out of the GMP contingency, which is already part of the overall award of the guaranteed maximum price for the project.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so to be clear, Brian, we have 4 letters of recommendation here. Is that what we're looking for, is to authorize WT Rich to proceed with bringing these 4 people under contract? Is that?
No, these are not final yet. There are a number of them are almost there, but we have these and then we have some that we don't even have yet that we're going to be looking to award as soon as possible.
Okay.
So what we'd like to do is we'd like to have a vote to allow the OPM to approve the remaining letters of recommendation on this project, just like that. And as I stated before, that will not affect the overall price of the job. But it's basically just making sure that we've gone through that this is the right subcontractor for the job, that the scope of the work has been vetted, and that they are providing, you know, a low bid on the job.
So what you're doing, what we're really doing is looking at the process that is being used and authorizing WT Rich to proceed and fulfill all the remaining contracts.
Yes, with the OPM's review and approval.
Right, exactly.
And then obviously you bring those back to us so we see them. And if, in terms of, you know, things go haywire, meaning those other ones we're not seeing right now are, you know, off the deep end, off the budget, that sort of stuff, where we as the owner, the city and schools aren't held to that because the guaranteed maximum price does not change in any way.
That's absolutely correct.
The risk on that is WT Rich, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, good. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, and we will include, you know, the executed letters of recommendation, you know, for record, so that you'll have, you'll know what actually happened and and all that.
Okay.
Okay, is there
So
any other questions about the process or what we're about to vote on?
How do you want to vote? Do you want to vote these four first and then authorize the rest? How do you want to do that? What's make sense?
No, we'll just do one vote to allow the OPM to work with WT Rich to approve their remaining letters of recommendation on the project.
Okay. Jonathan, that sound good to you? Jonathan Pope?
Yeah.
Okay, so moved.
Seconded?
Okay. So, yeah, you clear on what the motion is?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the motion is to approve the completion of the remaining contracts to with the review of CBRE Harry and WT Rich, correct? So is there any discussion? Seeing none, yes, can we have a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
thank you. Ben Nevis,
Yes.
thank you. Richard Sapphire,
Yes.
thank you. Katie Clancy,
Yes.
thank you. Donna Compton,
Yes.
thank you. John Dunn, John
Yes.
Dunn, thank you. Gary Fish,
Yes.
Thank you. Matthew Fusco.
Yes.
Thank you. Grant Harris.
Yes.
Thank you. Adam Russell.
Yes.
Thank you. Caitlin Nunes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, it passes unanimously. And that's the conclusion of the agenda items. Are there anything, is there anything that? we need to
Yep,
bring up
sorry,
before-
there's still a couple more things we wanted to talk about. They were kind of grouped together with the LOR, so it wasn't listed separately, but they're still kind of part of that. So I wanted to show you here one thing. So this is just what we talked about. I guess this is a helpful way to look at it. So here you can see these are the subcontractors that are remaining.
Brian,
to
Brian,
be-
can you zoom in a little bit, Brian? Sorry, can you
Yeah.
just zoom in a little bit?
Is that better?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, so these are the subcontractors that are remaining to be bought out on the project. And at the top, you have sort of the next group that we're working through right now. And then, the ones that will follow. Also, just to clarify here, a lot of times you see included, included. And that's because one subcontractor is providing all these different categories in that particular item. So I wanted to share this with you, first of all, because you see, what we're going to be doing that we just talked about, these approvals that we're going to be giving, but also because there is some good news here as we go through this process. Now, as we stated before, there's always the possibility that through negotiations, the number might be a little higher or a little lower than what we have in the budget. But at this point, things are tracking pretty well. So these are the one, this next group here, priority 3, are the ones we're finalizing next. And they're basically just about done. And we're tracking at almost $100,000 net savings. So that's helpful to understand. Now, that doesn't change the GMP amount. GMP amount is still the same, but that savings is going to go into an allowance that will still ultimately serve the project. So I know it might sound confusing because we have sort of all these different buckets that we draw from in the budget, but ultimately it does all come down to the same amount of money. So whether we save 100,000 in this bucket or 100,000 in another bucket, it's still, that kind of savings. So I wanted to share that with you as well. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Sorry, so priority 3 buyout, meaning these are priority 3 from our value engineering, or am I confusing priorities here?
No, yes, you're confusing the value engineering. So this is basically let's call it round 3. So
Okay.
Round 1, we award certain contracts, based on what's most important. Round 2, now this is round 3.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Brian, if I may, if there are any
Yeah.
savings, it can be used if necessary for the bidding that's going to be taking place going forward. And or if there are any savings, it could perhaps bring back some of the stuff that was value engineered as well, as while it remains underneath the GMP, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And that's actually what we want to talk about here next. So as we just talked about, we had to go through some value engineering cuts on the project. You probably will all remember that quite well. And we were happy that we were able to make these cuts without changing any of the school program on the project and still delivering a quality building. But as you probably also recall, there were some things that we would have really liked to have in the project and had to cut out in order to meet the budget. But as we go forward, we have money that's set aside for different things. One of them is the buyouts, like we just talked about, or as I mentioned earlier this evening, unknown conditions. Maybe there are things that we encounter in the ground that could be a problem. We have money set aside for those things. So as we go through the construction project, if things go favorably for us, if we're able to manage the project very efficiently, then some of that money can be freed up to be used for other things. So that's already happening. John Rich, when he went through the GMP, identified that the markings on the blacktop are already going to be included now in that GMP. That was something that we had to cut out earlier, but now we were able to bring that back. So the kids are going to have more play space outside. And that was our number one priority item that we wanted to get back on the VE cuts. The second priority item that we wanted to get back was the window seats within the classrooms. Actually, let's take a look at that original list here. Let me pull that up. And enlarge. So this might look familiar to you. This is a page from the value engineering document that we had put together when we had to take certain cuts to the project, and we had gone through that evaluation process. So down here, these are the list of items that we really wanted to get back into the job if we could. And here you'll see the number one was the athletic surface over the bituminous. That's what I just referred to as, the playground space on the blacktop or asphalt. And then the second thing we have here is the custom built window seats in the classroom. So you can see here a price tag of $130,000, $130,592. So as we've been moving forward, we've been keeping a close eye, on the budget. And we've also been talking with W.T. Rich about the timeline for these items. So some items have to be ordered, well in advance in order for the work to be able to be completed on time. So the deadline for the window seats, the decision on the window seats, whether we can add that back in, is now. So as your OPM, we've, take that off here so I can see all of you. As your OPM, we've reviewed the current financial situation, and we feel that given the amount of work completed to date, along with some of the recent buyout savings, like we just noted earlier, and the amount of contingencies that we have in place, that we can move forward with adding this back into the project if desired, and still be able to finish the project within the budget. We discussed this with the working group, and it was felt that this would be a valuable asset to the learning environment for the children. I think we have an image here that shows exactly what we're talking about to make sure it's clear for everyone. So I think you can see this now. So here's an image of a classroom, and you can see these window seats in the area of the classroom. And maybe Ben, you can maybe talk a little bit about it, how that plays out into the teaching atmosphere and how it affects the students.
Yeah, I'll sort of give it a shot. Then Matt should certainly chime in. So, as folks remember, or you may remember, I hope you remember, a big piece, one of the guiding principles of the school design is our flexibility in use of space, and that means classrooms being used for their own purpose. Opening that whiteboard, flexible wall to open up to a larger learning space for two classes to collaborate. Our learning commons, the STEM area and the media center, and then also these window seats are an example of that. This is we're trying to make cozy, comfortable sort of spaces where kids are learning in a variety of ways, in pairs, in groups. You see how in this example how the seating can be arranged and used differently in terms of the tables and chairs. The window seats are another example of that. It's an area where students can work in pairs, That might be for quiet reading. That might be for what we call partner reading. That might be for collaborating on, on a math project, or, looking at, the same screen together. But it's an area that kids can, move off and work in a very small group. And it also gives a sense of variety, gives a sense of connection, and is one of the multiple ways you want to make kids feel that they've got comfortable spaces that are conducive to learning. So that's sort of the thinking behind it. Matt, anything, you were really much more involved in design than I was, but would you add anything to that?
There's not too much more to add to what you said, Ben. You pretty much covered it all, but just want to say, just Amy and I were thrilled that they were going to be added back into there's a possibility that they're added back into the job. What a special place each of these classrooms is going to be for these kids is going to be amazing. So like Ben said, there's just a host of different uses for a space like that. But all in all, it just says that the room is welcoming and it's a safe, loving place. So we're both thrilled that it was going to come back into the building plan.
Great. Thank you. So, yeah, so what we'd like to do now is we would like to add this back into the project, which means we would be executing a change order roughly for $131,000, which is the price of the work plus some insurance and bonding that needs to happen to get added into it. And that would allow us to put this back into the job. So, that's roughly, $30,000 more than the recent buyout savings we had. So, all in all, like I said, we feel comfortable that we can take on this additional financial burden because, it is adding money to the job. But we feel confident that as we continue to manage the project effectively and efficiently, that we will be able to stay within the budget and, basically finish off the whole school for you without exceeding the budgeted amount. And it seems that this will greatly benefit the students for many years to come. So if that's the case, and if we're kind of at that point in time where this decision has to be made, we would suggest that that you add this back into the job and that you vote, I guess, to authorize a change order to the job to add this back in.
Okay. Are there any questions? Okay, then I'll make a motion that we authorize the OPM to initiate a change order for the purpose of putting the window seating in the classrooms back into the project. Do we need to put the amount in there?
It's about 100. So we have the exact amount for the work
Right.
because that was in the hard bid. That's $130,000, $130,592. The only thing that needs to be added to that
Actually,
is
Brian, that number is good. When we priced
Okay.
the alternates, we included the insurance and bond in those prices. So we're good to go at that amount.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
the number.
Yep.
131, what was it again, Brian?
no
130,592.
130,592.
Okay, and I so move.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Just quickly, again, this does not, while we're adding this component back in for that cost, it still does not change the GMP, right? The guaranteed maximum price, that all stays the same, correct?
So the guaranteed maximum price is for the work that was bid. This is in addition to that, but it
Okay.
does not go beyond the budgeted amount that we have for the project.
Okay.
So as I stated earlier, and I'm sorry, it just is this way. We have kind of, it's an accounting thing, you know, we have a bucket of money here, we have a bucket of money there,
I get it.
you know, so it's going to come out of the construction contingency for the project at this point, but also the savings that we've had, like on the buyout savings that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if that money doesn't get spent anywhere else, that goes right back into the same thing.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate that.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, Yash, can I have a roll call vote?
So Jonathan Pope,
Yes.
thank you. Ben Lemus,
Yes.
thank you. Richard Safar,
Yes.
thank you. Katie Clancy. Katie Clancy,
Yeah. You're muted, Kathy. I don't know. Maybe she had to step away for a minute. You can go back to her.
okay. Donna Compton,
Yes.
thank you. John Dunn,
Yes.
thank you. Gary Frisch,
Yes.
thank you. Matthew Fusco,
Yes.
thank you. Grant Harris,
Yes.
thank you. Adam Russell,
Yes.
thank you. Caitlin Nunes,
Yes.
thank you. Katie Clancy, are you back?
No, doesn't seem like it. Do we have enough votes?
Yep, we have 10.
Okay. And Jonathan, you're muted too. There you go.
Sorry about that. I'm having some issues here.
Are you looking for me?
Yes, we were looking for you.
We were voting on,
No, I can't hear anybody. Sorry, I had to step away for a second.
It was a vote on putting the window seats back into the project.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
okay, so that's all we have for tonight. You know, all of us here on your project team are very excited about the progress that we've been able to make on the job. I mean, we've come a long way in a very difficult climate, and tonight we were able to execute a guaranteed maximum price contract for the job that is within the budget. So that's a huge success. We've also been able to add back 2 items that were very important for the new students of this school, both outside on the playground and inside in the classroom. So that's also exciting to see how those things are going to benefit the community and the families for many years to come. So that's it for us.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to, anybody would like to bring up before we adjourn? Okay, seeing
just-
none.
I just want to say thank you
Okay.
because it continues to be very well organized and just a pleasure to see it all progress.
I agree. Yes, yes, that's true. Seeing nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Second that.
There we go. Yash, can we have a roll call vote? And
Jonathan Pope,
yes, thank you.
thank you. Ben Lemus,
Sure.
thank you. Richard Safar,
Yes.
thank you. Katie Clancy,
Yes.
thank you. Donna Compton,
Yes.
thank you. John Dunn,
Yes.
thank you. Gary Frisch,
Yes.
thank you. Matthew Fusco,
Yes.
thank you. Grant Harris,
Yes.
thank you. Adam Russell,
Yes.
thank you. Caitlin Nunes,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned, and everybody have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
All right, thank you.